That's to
Probably said that if I knew that was an option.
that's to John Prine, and his. We're having a vodka and ginger ale. We are going to not smoke a cigarette 9 miles long. And Kathy's not getting on a tilt-a-whirl, but we at least just wanted to cheers. John Prine was one of my favorite birthday presents ever. A few years ago, Kathy bought a trip for us to Chicago to see him in the Chicago theater, which is where he's from, and we had such a great time. And we're very, very sad to see him go. Yeah, the heaven. What is it?
When I Get to Heaven.
When I Get to Heaven is the name of the song. So if you want to listen to that later, I know probably quite a few have. Bob and Beth Sobolik are on here, and Bob said he was inspired. What was it, 70s, Bob, or 80s? When he first started playing guitar, his first song he learned was a John Prine song. So we're all gonna miss him, but we still have his music to live on at least. One of the sad consequences of all of this is we're losing some wonderful people. I remember thinking about that with Steve Jobs when he passed away too. That the world is a lesser place because of these guys moving on. But anyway, that's enough of that. We had another awesome day at Fifth and Wine. We sold so much wine. It's unbelievable. It's like, well, I guess, Tara, do you have that picture? Maybe you can show that eventually, but we had a guy buy 10 cases of wine today. So at least people are hoarding something good now instead of toilet paper, right? It's something that, I don't know if it's good or not, but it improves our bank account. So that's kind of fun. We're doing it, we have a fun pass-through window at our house. So we half outside, half inside tonight. And our dog is barking. We have a beautiful day in Montana, and now we hear it's supposed to be 8 inches of snow by Sunday. So I don't know. Things just keep changing constantly, and we're all staying positive, right?
Right.
I think Gloria originally was going to have their winemaker on too, Justin. He's on a kind of a sabbatical up in the mountains in his cabin, and we thought it was going to work, and it turned out it didn't. So Gloria and I are just going to make it up, and you guys, please ask questions as you go. I'm going to have fun, and I'm pretty sure Gloria will too. So Gloria, maybe we introduce you. Gloria Gilbert is married to Charlie Gilbert. We had Charlie on last week when we did the Left Bank Red Blend. So he, I think quite a few were on that, but maybe we could go back a little bit about the history of the family and all of that. But first of all, Gloria, I hear he told us last week that you were his boss. And yeah. And you first met in culinary school. So I'd kind of like to just hear about, how your background, first of all, before, and why you did culinary school, and then, kind of how you ended up as Charlie's boss, for instance.
It's a pretty interesting story, I guess. I am from Southern California. I went to school at Pepperdine University, and I graduated in 2009, which was a terrible time to graduate college and find a job. So I decided to go to culinary school, and that was in Portland, Oregon. Charlie and I actually didn't meet until the end of school. And luckily our friend Carlton, who is getting married this year, Charlie's his best man, introduced us, and we had been together for maybe 4 years, and we moved back to LA for a while, back to Portland again, and then finally made the decision to move to Yakima. So primarily my background is in food and in sales, and I actually didn't even get into wine until end of 2014. I started working at the tasting room, just doing tastings and working with wine club members. Eventually, I moved on to managing our wine club and growing that, making some changes in that structure. And then around 2016, I took over as our general manager, which has been a big learning experience. That was around the same time that Charlie took on national sales and he started working with our distributors. And then we decided to have a child, which has also been challenging. And here we are. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I don't have a huge wine background, but I like I said, I have a background in sales and I love that. So I actually am very fascinated in the business aspect of, the craft beverage industry.
Tell us a little bit about maybe Gilbert Cellars. I know quite a few you were on when Charlie was here, but the history of the family and kind of how the whole farming situation, how long it's been and what you've been doing and all that.
So the Gilbert family came to the Valley by way of the Midwest in 1897. So the family's been in the Yakima Valley for a very long time, started farming tree fruit and has been farming tree fruit since then. So Charlie owns a couple of orchards, but doesn't necessarily farm them. His cousin Sean runs Gilbert Orchards, which was established, pretty much so when the family moved to Yakima. Kind of an offshoot of that was Gilbert Cellars. So Sean and his brother Nate started Gilbert Cellars kind of as a passion project. I mean, the wine industry is much more fun than the fruit industry. So I think that they were kind of hedging their bets that they would have success and a good time in the wine industry, and they did. Sean left Gilbert Cellars around 2012 to take over Gilbert Orchards full time. And so unfortunately, he's not a part of the company anymore, but he's definitely in the tasting room a lot, kind of hanging out with us. I can tell he misses it quite a bit.
Do they make cider? Or anybody make cider?
They don't. What's interesting is probably in 2014, I would say maybe 2013, a little bit before we moved back to Yakima, one of the guys that Charlie grew up with was making brandy, apple brandy and cherry brandy, and he started making vodka in a very small distillery on our property, which started out kind of very illegally and then became a legitimate business, which was kind of cool because at the time Charlie was kind of starting a brewery, and so we thought this would be great. We would have a distillery and a brewery and a winery all on the same property, which turns out the Yakima County is not interested in. So not all of those worked out, but we did have a couple of family members and family friends making some spirits.
So since the 1800s, they've been farming. When did they plant their first vineyards then? Do you know about?
Well, Charlie's dad, Kurt, purchased a vineyard out on the Wallop Slope in 2002. But our Sunrise Vineyard, which is where this Riesling actually comes from, was planted in 2003. So that's one of our estate, it actually is our estate vineyard, which is on the same property as our winery and is also surrounded by, I would say probably 100 acres of apple orchards and apricots. So it's this really great, like, agrarian little paradise.
Yeah, we've been to that winery. It's beautiful. We talked about that before when we had Charlie on, but you guys also, you have a beautiful winery. You have beautiful property. You actually have a 400 or 500 seat amphitheater where you do concerts in the summer. And,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're really hoping that we can kick off the series June 19th, which will be, actually this season is our 10-year anniversary. So this is the 10th season that we've had of Music in the Vines, which is a really fun and popular concert series that we have out at the winery every summer. It's gorgeous. You know, you're surrounded by lavender, you're overlooking the Autanum Ridge, you're drinking rosé. It's just like the dreamiest. So we're really hoping we can start the series in June. Fingers crossed.
The trip from Walla Walla to Yakima is pretty much like going down the Rhone Valley in France. You could stop every 2 minutes and have a wine tasting room and have good food all the way from Walla Walla to Yakima. Even Yakima now, when I was there, was a little challenging for that, but I heard it's the food scene is coming around in Yakima.
Yeah, we have a few friends. Actually, it's kind of cool. Yakima, well, it's cool and also a really hard time now that all these restaurants can't be open fully. But it's a cool time to be in downtown Yakima. There's a couple of new restaurants. They're owned by people that are, you know, in their mid to late 30s, early 40s, like young families. They have a really, you know, unique point of view. They have a fresh take on Yakima. They're really produce driven. It's a cool scene. So we're really hoping that, you know, a lot of these people can bounce back.
So we've talked a lot about winery practices and vineyard maintenance, but we haven't really talked the business side in any of these wine tastings. And since Justin isn't here and you're the head honcho, maybe we could talk just a little bit about like how you sell wine, like to percentage maybe of restaurants or on premise, or even, you know, to on your premises and in your tasting room in Yakima. And I know that's closed right now, but maybe kind of just walk us through the sales side, how you guys, and how much wine you make, and how hard is it to sell, and do you ever, you know, have to discount, and, you know, all your GM hat duties.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of questions. That's a lot of questions. And I think a lot of it depends on time of year. It depends on, you know, the trends. It's really hard to spot trends in wine because you're making product, you know, at least a year in advance, pretty much, before you're selling it. So if for whatever reason you've kind of hedged your bets in one direction or another and the trend shifts, you are sometimes discounting your product. I mean, most wineries are discounting product to at least wine club members. So that's one way.
How big is your wine?
Right now we have about a little over 800, which is a really nice number. It's smaller than a lot of wineries, wine clubs, but it's a manageable number. We feel like we're able to be really close to our members. We have really great engagement. You know, they want to come to our parties. I mean, we've sold season tickets to like our concert series, and I would say 90% of those season tickets are wine club members. So it's small enough that we can really feel close to them, which is nice. So what were your other questions?
Well, just kind of, I think the restaurant versus the retail stores.
Well, it's good that Charlie's not here because I am a direct-to-consumer girl. So I am always trying to push for more wine club members and more people coming through our tasting room. Mostly because, to be honest, we make better margins there. But I mean, having a really strong base and distribution is important. I mean, that's a way for us to gain new customers, you know, to have our wine on lists in Seattle or in Montana or anywhere. I mean, we're exposing ourselves to new customers. So it's very important to be in other markets. Right now we're about 50-50 wholesale, so distribution, and also like local wholesale, which we self-distribute here in Yakima. So 50-50 between wholesale and direct-to-consumer, which is, I don't know if that's common or uncommon in the industry. Sometimes it's hard to glean information from other wineries, especially wineries our size. I mean, we're making 6,000 cases a year, which depending on who you're talking to is either really big or really small. We are in kind of a weird bracket in that we're in the middle. I mean, a lot of wineries are making 10,000 cases or more, and they're big wineries with, you know, national distribution, and they're with huge distributors, and you'll see them at every single grocery store, or they're very, very small and they're only in very select wine shops. So we are kind of in this weird zone, but here we are.
Right. Well, one of the questions that somebody had on the chat was like, how do you guys decide when you're going to release the vintages? Is that Justin's job, or is it a collaborative job, or?
I would say almost everything we do is very collaborative. So Justin, myself, Charlie, and then Charlie's cousin Laura. As owners, we really try to come together. Laura does our marketing, so we really do all work together. I mean, we always consult with Justin first. Do we feel like this is ready? I mean, that will give us, you know, the starting point. Yes, it's ready. Great. A lot of times Charlie's pushing me to release things early because he needs it in distribution. it kind of depends on the wine. I mean, things like Alabroche, Rosé, Left Bank, Unoaked Chardonnay, those kind of core 4 wines, we don't like to see a gap in the market, so we release it right away. The second we sell out of a vintage, we already have it staged, in our facility on the west side in Seattle, ready to be shipped out to distributors because we don't want them to see a gap. If it's something that we don't make quite as much of, I really do try to make sure that we have enough for our wine club members and that we can really satisfy our direct to consumer sales. And Charlie just tends not to take on a lot of that stuff because it does tend to be a bit of a harder sell. Blends are easy for him to sell, and great pink whites that you can sit on your patio and, drink easily. Those are easy for him to get placed. But sometimes it has to do with vintage, sell out, and sometimes it has to do with how we're feeling about our lineup.
Is Charlie a good employee in general, do you think?
He is a good employee. It's hard to work with your husband, guys.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But it's fun. I mean, the alternative is not getting to work with your husband, which.
Yeah, I'm just joking around. I think obviously.
No, he's a good employee. It's hard when he's on the road, I will tell you that. But it's been bittersweet having him here because we get to spend so much time together and work together on the business, but he's also not out selling wine to everyone.
Right. Well, this is, I think, what do you think this is, about 14, Heather, I think, of these we've done, or 13 or something? And it's been interesting because we've had importers and we've had winemakers, we've had just sales reps. This is our first time having the big GM on. So anything you want to share with us, just kind of about your day, kind of what happened to your day? Are you normally outside this coronavirus?
Honestly, my day is just like putting out fires. Luckily, we have a really great creative team. I love our team. Justin is, I wish he could be here because he is like the dreamiest winemaker you can ever have. He is fun. He's nice. He's easy to talk to. He doesn't have an ego. Like all of the things that everyone like says about winemakers.
Like all you guys in the chef world.
Right. So Justin is like the nicest man ever. So he is a dream to work with. We have, we've just really assembled a great team. So my day-to-day is really just making sure that everyone feels supported, which is nice for me. I do have one person on maternity leave and another one on the way going on maternity leave. So I am taking over their roles, which is interesting, especially in this climate, but it will be fine. I got to meet Justin a few years ago. When I turned 50, I spent a birthday week going from Walla Walla to Yakima. That was just a year or two ago, probably. But anyway, I got to meet him, and he's such a cool guy. And he actually climbed. He just started Malbec when we were there. You guys, I think maybe it was the first barrel, and he climbed all the way to the top of the towers of all the barrels, and he got a wine thief, and he poured it in our glass, and I got to taste it. He was so proud of it. Yeah, but can you tell us about his history and kind of his story, where he's got an interesting background too, right? Yeah, so Justin, like a lot of winemakers, especially in Washington, got some of his start at Chateau Ste. Michelle. He also did a little bit of time working at Silver Lake Winery, which is also a winery here in the Valley. We're so lucky, you guys, to have Justin. Like, he's the most amazing.
Doesn't he have like a microbiology degree?
Yeah, he has like a molecular biology degree. So whenever you can start to go down a like very scientific road when you're talking to him about winemaking, and he'll start talking about like chemical compounds, and I'm like, don't talk to me about that. I don't know what that means. But yeah, he just comes at everything from a very scientific point of view, which is actually really cool, because talking to him, he makes it sound a little bit more like a science, less like this romantic, any way the wind blows you. He has a very specific science, and that I think is really reflected in our wine. I mean, I trust him, with everything. If we get fruit for whatever reason that isn't what we thought it was going to be, I know that he can make something beautiful out of it. And I think that background really helps him for sure. He joined us in 2007, which is a couple of years after we started making wine. Our first winemaker was Charlie's cousin, Nate. He's Charlie's oldest cousin, and he is very much the romantic. And he was like infusing wine with lavender and all sorts of like interesting things. And so really, I like to think that we started taking ourselves seriously as a winery in 2007 when we started working with Justin, because that was when it really took our wine from passion project to something marketable. And really, some of those bottles are still delightful. Like we'll pull a bottle of Riesling or a bottle of Gewürztraminer out from 2008 vintage, and they hold up, which is
Yeah,
nice.
I think you guys, you have to head out there, medium. I think it's, we already talked about this. Yakima is a really fun place to visit. Their winery is amazing. It's beautiful. And so I think it'd be fun to plan a trip out there, you guys. And once all this is behind us, I think that'd be awesome. My wife vetoed me making my brats and my sauerkraut and spicy mustard. So apparently she's my boss too. So instead we made a Thai peanut chicken rice dish. Here it is.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think both of those are great options, by the way.
So here's what we're thinking about experimenting with. We did it tonight, the three of us. We did a meal in a bag. So you put all this stuff, we will chop and we'll cook the rice and we'll cook the chicken, and then we'll give you a recipe or a way to cook it, and we'll pair it with the wine next week. And I don't know if we're really going to do this or not, but we're going to experiment with it. So anyway, that's kind of what we're thinking about doing, just to kind of drive some business too. So that was Tara's handiwork there. All right, so let's get on to the Riesling in the glass. First of all, let's talk about Riesling in general, not just yours. But Riesling in general, and how hard it is to sell, and everybody thinks it's sweet, and kind of that whole story.
Well, hold on one second. Just let me know if this doesn't work the way we all want it to. Okay. Riesling is a really interesting sell, and I actually love the challenge of selling Riesling, educating people, because it is not a bottle to be afraid of. I think a lot of people see the long, slender bottle and immediately think, oh gosh, this is going to be a sweet wine. It's going to be something I'm not going to want to have more than a glass of. And that is not always the case. I would say there's a couple of things to look out for, mainly, which I don't know, I'm not super familiar with import, what's on their labels, but I have found that a lot of domestic wineries who are producing Riesling will put the residual sugar content on the back label. And that is a really important place to start if you're not familiar with a bottle, is to just flip over the back label. For instance, if you're looking at ours, it's the very last sentence in the kind of story. It says residual sugar 0.4% by weight. From there, it kind of takes a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of trial and error on your part to determine, how much residual sugar is right for you. I have been to wineries and to restaurants where they say, oh yeah, this Riesling is off dry or dry, and I would consider it still sweet. I think that, I don't remember what the exact percentage is, but I think that anything under 2% is considered off dry, which for me, 2% is not anything I am interested in drinking.
Right. And also alcohol level can also be an indicator if it has low alcohol level, and maybe, you could explain that. The lower the alcohol.
Yes, so that's one way, you're right, to look if you're looking at an import and you're not sure and it's not something you're familiar with and you don't have someone at a wine shop to help you and you're desperate for a bottle of Riesling. If it does have lower alcohol, you can it's not always the case, but you can probably determine that it's going to be a little bit on the sweeter side. I mean, if you're thinking about fermentation, yeast is taking sugar, eating it, and converting it into alcohol. So the more sugar there is left over, the lower the alcohol, right? So you can kind of come at it from the back end as well. So really, we're just looking for something like high alcohol and low sugar, guys.
Exactly, like vodka.
Yeah, right. So our particular Riesling, like I said, it has 0.4% residual sugar. It's about 12% alcohol. It has really bright acidity. It ages actually really nicely. Like I said, we've opened a couple of Rieslings from 2008, 2009, and they really do hold up. I have found that if I'm, tasting a Riesling that is aged and it has a lower residual sugar content, it's going to be a little bit more pleasing to my palate, but that's just the way that my palate leans anyways. Like, I don't love a ton of residual sugar. But it is a wine worth laying down if you're interested in aging a white. I think that Riesling is a great option for that.
Yeah, I had opportunity to taste one from 1972 with a guy named Rudy Wiest out of Germany, and it was golden color. I mean, it was seriously, it had aged, and I wouldn't say it was great, but it's amazing that a white wine can even hold on that long in general. Maybe Chardonnays from Burgundy, Chablis or whatever, but I think Riesling is one of the noble grapes of Alsace. It's one of the most respected grapes in Europe for generations, especially German, and everybody does it. So if you think about a German car or a German whatever, they make printing presses. I used to be in that business. They're the same in the wine world in Germany, in that they are completely maniacal about describing, and so they have like 7 or 8 levels of different sweetness, Cabernet and Spot Lacey and Beerenhaus Lacey and Trockenbeerenhaus Lacey. And so I think, don't be afraid of a Riesling. Like Gloria said, I want to have a Riesling tasting, but I'm afraid nobody will come. And I'll do lots of these kind of fun, dry Rieslings, and we'll pair fun wines with them. So it's fun. Gloria and I talked about this earlier about it's fun that we get to shove in a Riesling in everybody's, and she said she does that in the wine club too. Once in a while, it's fun to just make you guys try something that you normally don't do, so.
Right.
Sorry for that.
It surprises people. I think that, I personally love a Riesling, and this is one of our favorite wines to drink, especially this time of year. I know that you're experiencing some wacky weather, but we are 75 degrees and sunny here in Yakima today, and we're getting access to some great produce. And so it is a really fun spring white. If you're not quite ready for a rosé or something super acidic, it's a fun wine to pull out, and it's a fun wine to bring to a party. I think that, if you're looking to not show off, but if you're looking to kind of show off at a party and bring something cool and interesting and a conversation starter, it's not something that a lot of people are going to bring or think to bring. Rieslings are usually, depending, are very reasonable, at a very reasonable price point. You're not going to blow the bank on a bottle of Riesling, most likely. And like I said, it's like a cocktail hour wine leading into dinner, great over conversation. It's something that a lot of people can really kind of geek out on if you're bringing it to a wine dinner.
That's what Heather Jackson that works with Eagle just said. A lot of sommeliers, this is kind of their geek out wine. They like to bring the Riesling just to prove everybody wrong, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it is a little, but it is. You can bring it to a party and say, "Oh, you don't like Riesling? Try this," or just pour it for them, and they won't even know what it is.
Right.
It's a very versatile wine, I think, because for the most part, you're not manipulating it a ton. Our Riesling is aged 3 months in stainless steel. Some wineries might be aging it, in concrete or something, but for the most part, you're not manipulating the wine a ton. or the grape a ton. And so you just can see a lot of variation in the actual fruit, depending on where it's from, whether it's, you know, an import wine. We even see a lot of variation based on sites throughout the Yakima Valley. Justin and I were kind of talking earlier this week about, you know, Riesling in Washington. Riesling is one of the first grapes to be planted in Washington state. And I think that a lot of people thought that because it is a cooler climate grape, it would be perfect in Washington state. And so it was planted in some pretty hot sites. And those sites are still around, but we actually learned that Washington is a pretty hot place to grow. And so we get a ton of variation between like some of those really warm sites, like those some of the Saint Michelle sites are actually pretty warm compared to like the Sunrise Vineyard, which is where our fruit comes from. So just even within a valley, you're getting a vast difference in that final product.
I don't know if you are looking at the chats at all, Gloria, but you're getting lots of great reviews on your Riesling tonight, including.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, it's awesome. So it's really interesting.
I always forget to look at the chat.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't know. I think that's kind of all I have. Do you have anything else you want to tell about Gilbert or anything? One of the things we talked about with Charlie, and I think he pretty much guaranteed. Probably shouldn't say that, but you guys are going to come out and you're going to help us with a farm to table dinner this fall, the two of you and Justin, and we will cook.
I would love to come. I've never been to Montana. Like I said, I'm from Southern California, so I mean, like I fell in love with the Northwest, and then when Charlie started going to Montana, I was like, I got to get over there. Like there is a lot of country that I have not seen, and I would love to come visit you guys. That is for sure.
Yeah, so let's plan on that. I think Heather and Kathy and Tara are already on that. I think we're going to make that happen. Hopefully we'll all get this behind us and we can get back to some, yeah. No, we're not.
Yeah, once everyone can like leave their homes.
Yeah, in the fall, we're not keeping 6 feet apart. We're going to hug. That's what we're going to do.
I know. Oh, it's just like kind of brutal.
All right.
But at least we have wine, guys.
Exactly. Anybody have any other questions before we let Gloria go?
Let me look at the chat. Farm to table is awesome. Yes. I'm glad you guys like it. You know, Justin even said he recommended, you know, if anybody does have a couple of bottles, lay it down for a year if you can, 2 years, 3 years, hide it in the back, come back to it, even if it's not our Riesling, you know, take a chance on it and do a little experiment and see what happens in 4 to 5 years, because it's pretty magical. You get a little bit more of that like petrol, a little bit more like, I don't know, I feel like there's a little bit more depth of flavor once you lay it down for a while. So it's worth doing if you can hang on to a bottle, which is always hard.
Nice.
In my house.
Well, thanks, Gloria, so much. It's a pleasure talking to you and Charlie.
Yeah.
And thanks
for thank you so much. Cheers, you guys. Thank you so much for spending, you know, half hour with me, and have a good weekend and stay healthy for sure, please. And I can't wait to visit everyone in Montana.
Nice. I think really quick, we had a question about other wines that you have that are.
Oh, wow. Well, we have a lot of other wines. I'll kind of run through them, kind of top to bottom. I love our rosé, and it is definitely nearing rosé season, which is it's a great dry rosé. It's that in Grenache. We sell out of it very, very quickly. So if you are interested in rosé or our rosé, I would recommend getting your hands on some before July, because honestly, at the rate people are drinking it right now, it will not last much longer. We do a couple of different great Chardonnays, an oaked and unoaked Chardonnay, a few red blends, which Charlie tasted Alabroge with you guys last week. Is that what you tasted?
No, we tasted Left Bank, but
Left Bank,
we love the Alabroge too, right?
Okay, so a Bordeaux blend and a Rhone blend, which are both delightful for their own reasons. We do have a lot of Bordeaux on our Bordeaux varietals on our list right now. So we do have Cab Sauv, Carmenere, which is a really interesting grape if you're interested in like kind of branching out and trying something new. Get your hands on a bottle of Carmenere. It is super cool.
Heather, do we have Malbec in the market?
I don't know if you do. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay,
do.
great. That's awesome. The Malbec, actually, the 2016 Malbec has a 92-point score from James Suckling, which is fantastic. And I don't know how many of you guys follow him on Instagram, but he did post a video of our 2017 Malbec last night, which he is apparently very excited about. So I'm hoping for another good score on the 2017 vintage of Malbec. We've got a couple of reserve wines, you know, Reserve 2 is our Bordeaux blend, and Reserve 1 is another Rhone blend. We make a dessert wine, which is a Tempranillo port style. So it's about 19% alcohol. It's a little sweeter. It's not like overbearingly sweet. It's actually really balanced, and it's a very fun like cheese pairing port. Comes in a really cute little like 500 milliliter bottle. I love them.
It's almost
so
like you worked in a tasting room at one point or something.
yeah, that's me. Yeah, so yeah, our lineup is pretty extensive, but I think you should just, you know, browse the wine shop, browse the web store, pick something you haven't tasted before. I think that that's like the best way to be trying wine, honestly. There's nothing more refreshing than when someone walks into the tasting room looking for something they haven't had before, because that's really an experience for us, an experience for the customer. It's an opportunity for everyone to learn. It's so fun. So that is my homework for you guys, is to taste something you haven't tasted before.
Nice, I like it. We have lots of stuff
Yeah.
you guys haven't tasted before in our store.
Good.
Although we've been selling so much wine lately that we're going to have to actually order some.
I know, it's crazy, right? Everyone's just like hunkered down at home drinking wine.
Exactly, it's perfect.
There's not a lot else to do if you have children at home, to be honest.
So tomorrow night we have Josh Wolf with Thurston Wolf Winery out of, I think, where, Prosser maybe? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So we
about
have
45
him,
minutes away from us.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
We have him tomorrow night. Where he's doing his JTW blend. It's Cabernet and Zinfandel.
Oh, cool.
My wife is not in charge tomorrow night. I am going to recommend a hamburger with this, and we're just going to follow through and do a damn hamburger, no matter what she says. Because once in a while, we have to be in charge. Where's Charlie? He'd say.
Putting our child to sleep.
That's great.
He's good. He's the jack of all trades.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Gloria, it was so fun to talk to you, and we had fun.
Yeah, it was great to see everyone. It's nice to see like new faces.
Yeah, right. Yeah, kind of be social, even though we're not next to each other. Right?
Totally.
Anyway, so
totally.
we are definitely going to try and get this farm to table with you and Charlie, and hopefully Justin could come too if we do it after harvest.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, that would be so fun. We would love that.
All right. Well, thanks
Okay.
everybody.
Dad,
Thank
Really-
you.
Dad, will you really quick talk about what we're doing for lunch tomorrow? It was missed by a couple of people.
Why don't you? I forget what we're doing for lunch tomorrow. I've been drinking Riesling for a while in a
Okay.
vodka and ginger ale.
We're still doing that bison burger sliders with
good.
the bacon and the red wine aioli that we made with that sauce
Right.
wine. So please order that tomorrow. Be fun. Then we'll have a new special for you next week. So thank you.
And Kathy said you could just. She said, "Why don't you just bring that home and we have that with the damn Cabernet and Zinfandel."
True.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheers. Oh, did you?